What's up, guys? How's everybody doing? Welcome to Saturday Night Crypto on Saturday today. How about that for a change? Been away the last couple of Saturdays doing stuff IRL, so it's nice to be back on Saturday where we can relax and chill and geek out about crypto on the actual day. So hope you guys are doing well. What's up, Fast Cash? How you doing? A few other folks in here. I can go ahead and get started. So let's look at the total market cap and what has happened in the past week. The past week was the 6th of July. So what's up, man? The 6th of July, we were at a $310 billion market cap. We are now at 300, so we've lost about 10 after having a boost to up to 341. This all happened in the last week. Pretty crazy. Hope your daughter's wedding went well. That was a while ago, man, but yeah, it did. It did. Daughter's wedding went well. Thank you. It was less stressful for me than it was for her, even though I had to prepare a song I wrote for her, which was pretty interesting. It went over well though. But thanks, man. I appreciate the sentiment. Anyways, let's look here at where Bitcoin was a week ago. So on the 6th, it was 199. So Bitcoin has gone up in market cap a billion, whereas alts have been wrecked pretty much, right? If we go to the 6th, they were at 111. So basically all of that 10 billion that came out of here was out of the altcoin market cap, right? And if we go to the charts and we take a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, which shows basically how much of the money that's in crypto is in Bitcoin versus everything else, right? And the closer we get to the 50% mark, the more of an alt season it is, right? And the farther we are away from that, the more money is like in Bitcoin, the less money is in altcoins. So if we just look at this, and let's just go jump out to the 1 week, right? So of course, way back here, there were no altcoins, so it was all Bitcoin, like 100%, right? And then altcoins started coming up, people started getting excited, right? But basically, the last time Bitcoin dominance got up to about this high in December of 2017, there was a huge drop as altcoins, a huge drop in dominance, which means that Bitcoin dominance, which means that altcoins, were like the place to be, and we're outpacing Bitcoin for all of this time, which was several weeks, right? Like, an alt season, like a lot of people think an alt season is like a couple of days. Look how long an alt season actually is, right? It's this red, right? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks of solid alts outpacing Bitcoin, right? Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, right? These are weeks, man. 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So alt seasons last like a long time. And we have not seen one. We have not seen one since here, right? Since April of this year. We had a little mini one here, if you guys remember that, back from like February, March time frame. But once we hit April, it's like we've had this little thing here, but it wasn't really an alt season. It was like a little mini alt run, which of course we're gonna see those every once in a while, but. It helps to really zoom out and look at this. But look how high the Bitcoin dominance is, man. 67%. It's crazy. So, like, I've been talking about this for a while, guys, on the stream. Altcoins are super dangerous right now. The only way to play them is to flash trade them, right? And what I mean by flash trade is, you get in and then you're out within 24 hours, really, right? Like, you're out within an hour or 30 minutes. Like, just take your 1%, take your 2%, take your 4%. Like, just GTFO, just so you're not, like, left bag holding when Bitcoin makes another run. Because, man, this thing is getting up there. What with the high back in 2017 was 69, almost 70%. And that's really close to where we are right now, right? But, man, this is just, let's look at the indicators. Like, look at this, man. Here, this is a bearish divergence of the motion. I know, yes, we're applying like TA to a dominance chart, but you can still do that to some extent, right? Like the philosophy behind the human psychology that drives patterns in, you know, prices and derivatives of prices, which is, this is actually just a derivative of price, right? So the same psychological impact applies, and you can, that's why people TA, you know, the RSIs and things like that. Like, you could totally do that on things that are a derivative of price, right? So just looking at this, you know, you've got this bearish divergence here, you know, and this is not a, okay, we're absolutely going into alt season, but, you know, sorry, and that's not what I'm looking at. We're looking at this little guy right here, and we're looking at the opposite or divergence here, right? And that's bearish. That's bearish if it were price, which means, you know, that's an indicator that, you know, this is getting ready to drop. And when this drops, that means Bitcoin dominance drops, which means that altcoins are going to be just amazing, right? And so I've been telling you guys, you know, what I plan to do personally is you know, I'm in capital preservation mode right now, right? Like, my whole goal is to not screw around with altcoins and be left, like, you know, trading at losses and, like, you know, chipping away at my portfolio, so that when alt season does happen and this thing, you know, starts to come down like this, I have my full, you know, ammo of BTC or fiat locked and loaded, ready to throw at my favorite altcoins, which are probably gonna see 30 to 50% gains, if not 100%, right? Like, man, I do not want to miss that. So because of that, I'm just sitting on the sidelines, twiddling my thumbs, maybe taking a few flash trades here and there. Some have been bad for me, some have been good. It's probably been like a wash, honestly. Like, I made some money on BTT. I bought it 9 sats and sold it 10 sats. It's a flash trade, right? I don't want to be left holding a bag for too long. But, you know, I've also got wrecked on a few trades too. Just had my stop losses hit. So they've all kind of washed out. So I haven't really done anything except, you know, just kind of jump around. But anyways, let's look at Bitcoin, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So let's start with the BitMEX chart, shall we? What's up, Dom? And Fast Cash says, definitely bought at 12, 5, and 13 on Coinbase. Yeah, and it's not really, like, that's not a problem that you bought at 12, 5, and 13 on Coinbase. Like, you probably bought, I'm guessing that 12, 5, and 13 was on this run up here, or maybe as it was kind of correcting down a little bit. Like, you do want to try. Like, I would say the biggest lesson I learned in my first year of trading and getting wrecked all over the place was, don't buy a bunch of green candles, right? Never FOMO. There will always, always, always be red candles. And that's what you want to buy. Buy the red candles on the high time frames. And if there's a bunch of green candles that does this, and you're like, dude, I could have bought that, then the red candles only take you down to here, that's fine, right? If this is a support, you know, and it retests it, that's where you want to buy and sell the red candles, right? Look to take profit, on the green candles. Look to take profit on the green candles. You know, you see 4 or 5 green candles in a row, that's where you should be looking. Maybe take a little risk off the table here, man. And you see 3 or 4 red candles in a row, and you're like, maybe I'll start laddering in my bids here. So I'll tell you guys where my bids are on BTC. I'm still in some. I took a little profit up here, about 12K at this level, with this green candle here on the 1 day. I took a little bit of profit there, but I still have some. And now I have some fiat that I'm ready to throw back, and I have some bids I haven't bought yet. But I'll tell you guys where my stuff is after we just look at the price action here. So you can see there's a few ways to look at this. Let me clean this chart up and find like a different. Let's do a Bitfinex chart. Yeah, okay. Here's a clean chart, right? Okay, so let's get in here and let's draw some lines. So there's a few ways to interpret this. So one of them is you could look at this. Let's go into like the 4 hour here. Okay. So looking at the 4 hour here, you could say that this is a symmetric triangle, okay? And down here, it's going to be like, you know, it's going to look like this, right? Let's see. Yeah, right? Okay, and so if this is this is just one interpretation of the chart, right? Now, if this is going to play out, right, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then usually it's a continuation. So like, let's look at symmetric triangle. Symmetric triangle pattern. Like usually a symmetric triangle is a continuation pattern, and a continuation pattern looks something like, and depends where the price came from leading into the triangle, right? So here, right, if it came in from the bottom, it usually breaks out on the top as you get in that last third of the triangle. This isn't a great example. Here's one, right? Symmetric triangle coming from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 break, right? Usually. So you got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, I drew this wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 breakout. But it could also bounce around a couple more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 breakout. It's going to be really interesting to see. So the fact that this held up is really good. Where this line was before today, though, was here, right? Now this is interesting because this is where the line was before. Let's go to the 1 day again. And the price was breaking down this support earlier today, but it regained it, and now we're kind of right on the edge there. So like, yeah, you can redraw this now to include this wick if you want, and it's probably fine. Another way to look at this chart, and that would be bullish, right? Especially if volume continues. There's actually a few charts we're going to look at here. So let's look at another interpretation. Let's go to 4 hours here. And here we see what looks like a head and shoulders, right? Up, down, up, down, up, down, break, fake out, recover, right? So it looked like this head and shoulders was actually going to play out with a breakdown here, but it was a fake out. It's just interesting, right? So I was pretty bearish like early today, going like, man, this head and shoulders looks like it's going to play out. If you look at the volume here, it's going up, right? Like the volume was totally rising leading up to this, final shoulder, which is one of the conditions required for head and shoulders to play out. Then we had this break through the neckline here, and I was like, oh, it's totally happening. And then right when that happened, Tether mints 5 billion Tether, which is an accident, right? They meant to mint 50 million, and they accidentally typoed it and minted 5 billion. So all the bots and algorithms that watch Tether prints immediately bought Bitcoin and caused this to come back up out of the dead, right? So it's kind of funny, right? Like I tweeted about this. Here, I will I will show it to you. So I said I'm not really one for conspiracy theories, but like Bitfinex accidentally adding 2 zeros to the Tether mint. Here's the mint, 5 billion USDT, okay? Like, can you imagine what it would be like if at a bank you like were doing some you meant to put 50 million and you accidentally put 5 billion, you would be fired instantly. And is there no such thing as a mint 5 billion? Are you sure? Yes, no? Like, come on, right? There's no way that was an accident, okay? I mean, whatever. Maybe it was an accident. But if so, it's got to be the most rookie employee move in the world. And who has authority to mint Tether? Do you really think it's the kind of person that puts 00, whoops, are you sure? Yes? Come on, right? You could also see this as like, well, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so I'm not going to get into the, Bitfinex did that intentionally to save the price from dropping, because whatever, right? I don't fully buy into that. But I do think it is super hilarious and awfully suspicious that Tether minted, 2 extra zeros on their 50 million, right? Like it's just funny. Okay, but now because of that, the Head and Shoulders didn't play out, right? 5,000 million is 5 billion. Yeah, so that's 2 extra zeros, right? So it's just I just laughed so hard when I saw that, right? Why didn't the market come back down afterwards? Because it's because everybody wants to be bullish right now, right? And it did. I mean, it did come back some, right? It definitely came back some after that, but it just didn't come back all the way. So I mean, because they still minted 50 million, right? Like a 50 million Tether print is still better than nothing, right? And so when Tether is printed, it suggests, like, we don't have transparency into this, and a lot of people think it's a total scam. And I'm not giving any, credence to whether it's a scam or it's not a scam. But the claim is that when Tether is printed, it's because a high-value client ordered that Tether with US dollars because they want to buy Bitcoin. So they mint the Tether, and that means that there's a bunch of money that's about to come into Bitcoin, or the major market caps or whatever, usually Bitcoin, right? And so even 50 million is still 50 million. Like, that's nothing to shake a stick at. That's still bullish. But 5 billion was ridiculous, right? So that's why, the 5 billion was this, and then, it was actually only 50 million. Oh, okay, let me come down a little bit. That's why, right? So it's ridiculous, I know. It would not surprise me one bit if, fast forward 5 years, we learned that Bitfinex is totally manipulating the entire market, totally scamming everything with Tether. It's a complete joke. Nobody's actually buying. They're printing it out of thin air, and they all go to jail. Like, that wouldn't surprise me at all. But on the flip side of that, without Tether, Bitcoin might still be at 3K, right? Like, the fact that Tether is minting and printing and Bitcoin's going up to 14K, like, a lot of that is because of Tether. So we all have Tether to thank for this, whether it's a scam or it isn't, right? So it's kind of bittersweet, I personally feel both sides of this, right? I sometimes I'm like, oh my God, the Tether is such a scam, and they're totally manipulating the market. And on the other side, I'm like, but I'm benefiting from that, and so is everybody else. So as long as we acknowledge that it could be fraudulent and could be a scam, and we just, sleep with one eye open, if you know what I'm saying, then, we're less likely to get wrecked as a result of that. If Tether blows up, are we really headed to 3K again? So if Tether blows up, we're definitely headed down. It's going to be a huge blow to the market if Bitfinex gets actually caught for fraud, goes to jail, Tether gets delisted. But there's enough coins and utility, enough stable coins and enough utility outside of that the market's going to recover. It's like crypto as a whole isn't going to zero because of that, but it's going to get hit pretty hard, right? So, like, you'll want to be careful if that happens. Like, there's no avoiding it. If you're trading alts or Bitcoin at the time, you're going to take a hit, and it's just like, how fast can you get out if that happens, right? So just be careful. That's all. If you're in fiat, great. If you're 100% in coins, they're probably going to get hit. I don't know how hard, but it's going to be bad. Not to zero, I'll tell you that. Okay, so sorry for going off that for so long. So there's Head and Shoulders here. We talked about that, but there was a symmetric triangle, which is bullish. The Head and Shoulders is bearish. I think on the Coinbase chart, I actually have another line mocked up here. Yeah. Wait a minute. Where's my other line? Is Coinbase? That's weird. Should have another line here. Here. So I feel like the let me get rid of this. So I'm gonna ignore the red, the yellow, and the green. Just look at the white lines, okay? So looking at just the white lines here, you can see that, this resistance, trendline resistance here, this diagonal white line, looks like it might be walking through that, which is kind of bullish. But these two white horizontal lines, I think, are the range that Bitcoin is bound in right now. Like, if you just look generally at how long we've been in this range here, Like we've been in this range for quite some time, right? And I think breaking out of this range, which we did here, and then testing into support, that was super bullish until we hit here. And you're just like, it just looks like there's a lot of resistance up there in that 12K range. But I think the next move of Bitcoin is going to be determined by which white line here is broken out of. So let me just move this on the other chart. Let's go back to here. Okay, so one of them was here, and one of them was like here, right? It's about 12K, is that right? 12,250. Why did I have that there exactly? It was the top of. Is it the top of this second bump here? Let's just replicate that on a cleaner chart. There, so it's about there, okay? So whatever. I mean, these aren't perfect lines. It's rough. There's a little bit of, range to that. But I'm looking at candle closes on the 4-hour here, right? So it's actually there. So here, right? The candle closes, the candle closes, the candle closes. And yeah, it contains some wicks. But this is, I think, either this is going to hold up as support and we're going to play all the way up to potentially 12K again, which would be really bullish, or it's going to go tap, 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 break, and then we're looking at probably, this range here down at the 9,600. And if that falls, we're looking down here at 9K. And if that falls, we're looking at the gap fill. That was here on the 1-day chart. So these are the CME futures, guys. And if you look at these gaps that were here, right? So there was a gap right here and it was filled. There was a gap right here and it was filled the next day. But this gap has yet to be filled, right? There was a gap way back here and it was filled like about a week later. This is the only remaining gap that hasn't been filled. And if you look at where it is, it goes all the way down to 8,500, right? It's 8,500 to 9,000, okay? So we're still waiting for this gap to fill, and maybe it was a runaway gap and it's not going to fill for a long time, or maybe it's headed down there now and you're going to get one big whip that goes wham and then comes right back, right? So personally, I have some bids in this area, around 8,500, just in case that wick comes. I want to get filled on that. Because look how many times it is a wick, right? This one here was a wick, and then it was a wick. And if you had put your bid at the very bottom of this, which I did, I had a bid at exactly, around 10K, wick down to 90 something, and then filled. And so I got a buy-in off of this wick because I set it at the bottom of the gap here. I also played this gap and got a nice fill, and I have a bid at the bottom of this gap here, right? 8,500. So is it going to hit there? Who knows? It could be months before this hits. But it would not surprise me at all, personally, to see, this breakdown here, this area here break down, and then, come down and fill the 8,500. I hope that doesn't happen. But if it is, I've got a little fiat there ready to go. Why does it have to fill there? So I did a talk about that a few weeks ago, Fast Cash, and I made a big post on Twitter about the CME gaps. I'll TLDR it for you, but basically, CME futures only trade 5 days a week. They don't trade on the weekends. So over the weekend, sometimes if price is really active, you get this big gap and then it opens up, really high. And that basically means that a bunch of buyers and sellers on the futures missed out on that in-between area. And there were a bunch of buyers that wanted to fill there, sellers that wanted to fill there on the way down, right? And they still have all these open, not contracts, but like open interest in filling that. And historically, if you just look at all those gaps on the high time frames, on like the 1-day chart, they have almost all been filled eventually. Sometimes it takes weeks or months, but they almost all eventually fill. And if you want, just search my Twitter and search for a CME gap. And I talk all about it, and I talked about it on Twitter, but I step by step broke down what a CME gap is and why why it happens and how to play them. So anyway, you can just look on my Twitter for that. Just do an advanced search, and if you need more help past that, I can look it up for you. Anyways, so I don't want to spend too much time. Spent almost half an hour talking about Bitcoin. Basically, this is the range I'm watching here. Go to 4 hour again. So I'm watching to see if this tap breaks. If the 11K support holds, it's basically 11K and 12K. That's what we're waiting to see. And in between there's chop. And if you like choppy markets, then good for you. You might do a buy here and see if you can get a sell. Let's actually look at a couple other indicators. Let's look at the Bollinger Bands. And we'll look at a couple others just to see if there's any indication. So we had a nice close outside the bottom Bollinger here on the 4 hour. So I think we're at least in play to the... Well, sorry, it was not a close outside. It was a wick outside. And on the 1 day, we're still coming down. We're bouncing off this middle Bollinger as resistance. So personally, I think 10K is in play here on the high time frames. But if you go into the shorter time frames, there was a nice recovery here. We had this bottom Bollinger Band. So there might be a run up to this middle Bollinger here on the shorter time frames. Shorter being 4 hour. Still high, but shorter than a day. We'd be talking about 11.5. If 11.5 can break and retest here, if we can get this, then we're probably good up to the top Bollinger, which is going to push the 12K area. However, if this breaks down... I think if 11K breaks down, 10K is absolutely in play, and that's where I'd be looking maybe to for the next support. Okay, don't want to spend too much more time on this. Let's go to ETH and just kind of jump down the market caps here, and I'm going to look at them all against BTC because I'm not really interested in what's happening against Tether or US dollars right now. I want to see what is outpacing Bitcoin and what is Bitcoin outpacing. And I think we know from the market dominance that we talked about earlier that Bitcoin is outpacing almost everything right now. But still, let's look at some charts and see if there's any things that are diverging, any interesting stuff here. Let's look at Ethereum against Bitcoin on Binance. We're pretty flat on the 4 hour. Let's go to the 1 day. What happened in the last 7 days? In the last 7 days, we lost. Ethereum against Bitcoin lost ground in the last 7 days. Ever look at Thorcoin? No, I have not, but I'll take a look at it. I'll put a note here, and we'll take a look at that once I get to the small caps. So Ethereum is losing. It does have a nice bounce on the bottom Bollinger here, though. So there might be a nice alt play up to the middle Bollinger Band, which would be about, from current price, looks like about 6 or 7% of Ethereum would be pretty nice on the 1 day. Let's look at it on the 4 hour chart. On the 4 hour, looks like it's trying to, the bands are tightening because we've kind of been in this range for so long, and when you're in a range for so long, the bands kind of tighten in, and then there's usually an explosive move either up or down. So altcoins are looking to explode, Ethereum, I would say, is looking to explode on the 4 hour chart for a few 4 hour candles, which might put you like a day's worth of action before something happens. I like looking at the 1 day, though, because look at these, man. The RSI is trending up. This is bullish. It's definitely bullish on the 1 day chart, but the bullish cross hasn't happened here. It looked like it was gonna happen here, and but then it was a fake out. It was like, nope, the blue line crossed here, but then it faked right back out. This is a total fake out. This was last week too, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so last week I was like, oh man, it needs like a day to cross over and get this histogram going. It was a total fake out, because then it just dropped right back down. So again, we're looking for this histogram to switch over. We're looking for these lines to cross bullishly, blue over orange, and we're looking for the green to start. It could happen, but I think we need a couple more days. Let's move on to the third market cap, which is going to be Ripple. Ripple has been wrecked, and I know this because I've been watching all the lamentation of the people on Twitter. It's been ridiculous. They're just like, this coin is going to zero, and they're so pissed off. And when you start to see that, and you start to see people say, my favorite coin is garbage and it's going to zero, and screw the team and screw you and screw everything, like, I feel bad for those people, but that means that the time to buy is coming, right? That means, get ready to buy some blood, right? So this looks a lot like Ethereum, right? Dropped, and I imagine a lot of the majors are going to follow the same pattern. Here we are, tipping outside the lower Bollinger on the day, possible heading up to the middle, which would be worth about what, 7-8%. Oh, this is almost 15. This is almost 15% for Ripple, which was the same as I talked about last week. I'm like, hey, if we can get up to this middle Bollinger Band, we were about here, or here is, let's see, it was a day, so 7 days ago. I'm like, man, this would be about, it was about 7 or 8%. I believe Stellar had quite a bit of room to go. But here, the opportunity is even better, but the indicators are still like, look at that. We're almost ready to bullishly cross. We're almost ready to go green on this histogram here, right? The RSI is really bottomed out. It's really bottomed out. We had this bullish divergence here. It played out and then immediately came back down. But now we've got even bigger bullish divergence because it's still diverged. Diverged? Is that right? Is that a word? I don't know. It's still in a divergent state, right? So again, when this does play out, I imagine it's going to be pretty violent. You just need a little more confirmation. I mean, if you're really aggressive and you're just like laddering in, you're just like, I bought here, I bought more here, I bought more here. Good for you, man. Hopefully you don't run out of cash by the time this turns around. And your dollar cost averaging down. I have not bought any of these because I'm just waiting. Yes, I'm going to miss the bottom personally, but I don't care. As long as there's a 1, 2, 3 week pump, I'm going to catch like a good 66% of that. We're not there yet. Hardest choice I have is to tether up and wait to get in, or hold and risk it falling and get in the alts. Well, here's the thing. Here's the way I look at it. I have some fiat, but the Bitcoin that I have, if yes, if there's opportunity cost for hanging out in Bitcoin, it drops like $1,000 because you're just like, dude, I could have gone into Tether and then rebought $1,000 lower, and now I'd have more Bitcoin, right? So yes, there is opportunity cost for holding, but if you think about it, if you're not concerned that Bitcoin's going to zero, and you think it's eventually going to get back up to 15, 16, 20K, then it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter because your Bitcoin is worth exactly the same. And if you're buying alts against Bitcoin, let's say you have 2.5 Bitcoin, right? And it's at 12,000, it's at 12K, and you have 2.5 Bitcoin, right? And then it drops to 10K. You still have 2.5 Bitcoin, right? And now if you want to buy alts, you buy the alts and then you sell them and you're getting more Bitcoin that way. It doesn't really matter, right? Yes, there was opportunity cost. Yes, you could have made more Bitcoin had you sold into Tether and rebought, but you could have also screwed that up. You could have also sold into Tether and then it goes up and you're just like, crap. Now I have less Bitcoin. Instead of 2.5, now I have like 2.25 Bitcoin because I had to buy it, on the run up to get back in so I could buy my alts, right? So, the way I look at it, unless you think Bitcoin is going down to 3K or 4K or 5K and is going to be there for a long time, it doesn't really matter, right? If you sell into Tether, great. If you don't sell into Tether, great. Whatever. If your whole goal is to accumulate more Bitcoin, it's your choice. If you're a day trader or a swing trader, you could try to do that. But the risk is pretty high. Trying to time these Bitcoin moves is very difficult. I am personally much more successful at timing altcoin moves than I am in Bitcoin, right? So, I'm better at trading alts than I am Bitcoin. Bitcoin, my success rate's pretty close to 50-50, maybe a little less than 50-50, but through good risk management, I've been profitable. But I'm not killing it on Bitcoin, even though I have buys at 10K and I've made some really good trades. I'm not 3xing and 5xing and 10xing my portfolio because I'm not margin trading on Bitcoin. Where I see those kind of gains is on the alts. And right now I have not been trading alts because it's just too risky. So, that's just my personal style. A lot of people love margin trading Bitcoin. They love scalping Bitcoin, and more power to you. That's just, my style. I'm talking 3K, 11K to 8,500. Yeah, I mean, even, if I have some of my BTC and it drops to 8,500, no problem. I still have exactly the same amount of BTC, and I do have some fiat that I'm going to throw in at 8,500 for sure. So I'll just have some more of it down there. It'll bring my dollar cost average down. But I'm not really concerned with the USDT value of my portfolio right now. Like right now, this is just me personally. I am squarely in accumulation of Bitcoin mode, right? Because I think Bitcoin is going to eventually pass 20K and get, go up higher. So I don't care. I'm going to be looking at USDT value probably the next time we pass 20K. But until then, I'm just like, whatever. Just don't lose capital, don't lose portfolio, and accumulate more Bitcoin when I feel really confident about it. That's my personal approach to the market, because that's where I've been successful in the past year or two. Even in 2018, when Bitcoin was getting crushed, I was accumulating more of it by smartly trading alts. Okay, so man, 1136. Okay, I need to get going on these charts. So Ripple looks a lot like BTC. Sorry, a lot like Ethereum. Very potentially bullish, but not quite yet, in my opinion. Let's move on to Litecoin against BTC. We're coming up a lot closer on the event that's coming, which I should have marked on this chart now. Litecoin's halving is coming up with this blue line. Man, it's been wrecked. I had some Litecoin and sold it. I held a little too long. I sold it like maybe about here, about 150. And I had bought it like 130. Yeah, so I had bought it about here in this chop, and I held it all the way up to here. And I was gonna sell it at 190. I took some profits on the way, and then I got out of it about here at 150. And man, it's been wrecked ever since then. I figured it was actually gonna go back up again. I thought we were gonna see like one of these, and then, but man, it looks like it's just going down and getting wrecked. But I mean, to be fair, most of this is because Bitcoin was on a tear up to 14K. And now that it's not, though, I mean, and this was too, right? All the alts have just been completely wrecked, right? And this is actually, we're going to look at them in USD here. So this is a red altcoin board. This is against USD. They've been wrecked against USD, and they've been wrecked against Bitcoin. So everybody's waiting for alts. This looks a lot like Ethereum. Looking at the chart, let me get rid of this here, so we can actually see some charting here. Thanks for the follow, Figgle. Wait, no, that was not the follow. That's old. Why is this not showing my? Who just followed? Crap. My dashboard to show recent events just got wrecked. Well, thanks for the follow, whoever followed. I'll call your name out. Feel free to say hello and introduce yourself in the chat. And then ask any questions you might want. There we go. The Grizz 66. I don't know why I didn't refresh. Thanks for the follow. Nice to have you. Ask me about any coins you want me to take a look at. I'm happy. Ask any questions you want. I'm happy to answer them. Do you know who Cory Buccio is? I do not know that name. It's nooner time. No, I don't know who Cory Buccio is. Refresh my knowledge. Tell me who that is if it's somebody important to crypto. Or if it's just somebody else that I should know. But that name does not ring a bell. Anyway, this looks about the same. This is the date, though, that you want to pay attention to, August 5th. Because it's when Litecoin is going to go through the halving. So this is super dangerous to hold. It's super dangerous to hold Litecoin up to this date, in my opinion. You tried to put a link, fast cash. Sorry about that. Let me allow you. How do I do that? What's the command to let people post a link? Is it allow? Ugh, I don't know. I thought it was allow. No, whatever. I'll figure it out. Just post it without the HTTP in it or something. I'll take a look. Let's go to the next. I want to jam through these so we have time to talk about some mid caps. Let's look at Bitcoin Cash. Sorry that I spent a little bit too long talking about Bitcoin, but it was important. it was still pretty important. So Bitcoin Cash had this nice run up, retraced 100%, came all the way down. Looks a lot like Ethereum. Got wrecked the last 5 of 7 days, and then we have a little bit of green. We're wondering if this is alt season. The same thing happened a week ago, right? All this red, 2 green days, and everybody's like, oh, alts, and then wrecked, right? Here we go. 2 green days. 2 green days is not enough. Okay, well, I'll tell you that right now. You want to see at least 4 or 5 full green candle days for alts, and you want to see the Bitcoin dominance have about 4 red days, right? You want to see wham, 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 right? And when you see that, then you're like, all right, it's time to start looking at these altcoins more seriously. Because if you had tried to do that last week on these red candles, you would have got completely face smashed. So it's important to wait for confirmation on high time frames of these things. Okay, so with that said, is there anything different about the chart here than there was to Ether? Not really, right? These coins are not really divergent from one another. They're very similar, at least that we've seen so far. If we go to the small caps, we'll see some different charts. But, hey, it's like, okay, you got about 15% to the middle. That could play out if this is not another fake out. So if you're super aggressive, you can go for it. I am not that aggressive. I would rather, get in halfway up to that 15% and catch 5 or 6 or 7% of it. Let's go to the next market cap. Try PMing him. Yeah, you can actually send me a PM with a link. What's up, CBS High? That would work also. I got to figure out what the chat command is to allow links. I thought it was !allow, but it did not work. So sorry about that. Let's look at Binance Coin. So one thing that's actually interesting, take a look at this. Binance Coin took over EOS and is now number 6 market cap, right? That's pretty good. Let's give them a round of applause for Binance Coin, which I think is probably the most fundamentally sound coin in all of crypto, even though the U.S. citizens are getting kicked out of the pool, which sucks. Major suckage that U.S. citizens are getting kicked off Binance. It's the best exchange. Binance is going to be hurting big time after that. But still, I'm bullish long term, and we're going to talk a little bit about the fundamentals of Binance. But first, let's look at the technicals. Let's look at Binance. Okay, here we are. And what is this? What is this? This is the month leading up to the USA ban. And this is when a lot of USA users are going to be exiting the withdrawing all their coins, or selling them and then withdrawing their Bitcoin, whatever. So this is a dangerous time to hold BNB, in my opinion, in this area. Unless they can really get some work done on that USA exchange and get it launched in time. If you guys watched the latest AMA with CZ from Binance, one of the highest importance questions was, hey, is the USA exchange going to be ready in time? And, of course, political spin on his answer, and I don't blame him. He's like, yes, that is the plan, but it is really in the hands of our partner, right? So TLDR is, if it's not launched, it's not my fault. Don't be hating, right? It's all, but really, he's gonna suffer whether he likes it or not. BNB is gonna suffer if that USA exchange is not launched by here. Like it or not, call it whoever's fault you want. Say it's their doing, and it should be by a different company who's running that exchange. It doesn't matter, okay? It matters like a little bit, but still, Binance as a corporation, as a company, is still responsible for all its partners, and the fact that it's got a partner in the United States that is independently trying to set up an exchange. If that doesn't happen in time, just like if your employee F's up, your manager is responsible. Binance Coin is going to suffer if that doesn't happen. There's no way around it. Although he's trying to say, he's doing the right thing by saying, I've left that in control of my employee, our partners, and it's up to them to launch it. But yes, that is the plan, to have it launched in time, right? So if it happens, that's going to be great. If it doesn't happen, that's going to be bad, okay? Before I talk about more fundamentals, I want to talk a little bit about what happened right here. So I actually scalped some BNB right before the AMA because the AMA's like, man, when you know the AMA is going to be bearish because he's talking about the hack that just happened, or it has to explain like, what do you mean USA users have to get off the, like, what the hell, and everybody's got all these negative questions. That's one thing. This AMA had none of that. It was just like, hey, I've got some good surprises, we've got some good utility, let's be bullish about BNB, right? This was a really, really bullish AMA, and so I wanted to be in BNB before the AMA, and I bought it before about like 6 hours before the AMA, and I sold it right as the AMA started, and boy, did that go! Like I think that went up like almost 10%. It went up about 15%, but I guess I made about 10% on that. So a lot of this candle here was the AMA. But even since then, it looks a lot like the rest of the Ethereum charts, like the other altcoin major charts, which is, hey, it's gone down, it's got wrecked against BNB. The last couple of days have been bullish, though, not counting the fundamental thing that happened right here with the AMA. That's what this candle was. I happen to know that because we follow fundamentals as well as technicals. And now we're looking to balance. We're looking for resistance on this middle Bollinger Band here, right? It was resistance here. It was resistance here. Looks like it's trying to test again. This crossed over bullishly with the help of this candle here. We had the indicators kind of come up a little earlier than Ripple and BCH, right? So still, though, we're waiting for confirmation. I happen to know that was based on a fundamental event. So, those can come and go. So we want organic growth to drive this. And we need to see a little bit more confirmation, just like we did with the other ones. Permit. Thanks, Pops. Permit Fast Cash NC. All right, there you go. There you go, Fast Cash. Now you can post your link. Appreciate it, Pops. Thanks for the Twitch chat command. I knew that, honestly. It's just been a long time since I've done a lot of chat moderation. Anyways, okay. Now, sorry about all those sound effects. Those are for my gaming streams. I just DM'd you in Discord. Okay, cool. I'll check it out. Let's go to the next coin. Is there anything else? Oh, there's more. There's something else fundamental I want to talk about here. Let's hop on Twitter. And I want to show you guys something. Actually, let me go to Telegram. And let me find this link. Oh, it's not in Telegram. Sorry, let me close this then. I sent it as a text message to a buddy of mine. And let me find it. Bear with me for 1 second while I find this tweet. Here. Larry Cermak. Okay. So this tweet by Larry here about Binance. Let me find it because it's really okay. So here it is. Here's the tweet thread. Okay. So let's actually walk through this because it's actually pretty important. We've got 10 minutes left. Yeah, this is worth it. So they announced that it will contribute the total team allocation of 80 million BNB to the BNB burn. So that sounded really bullish, but like I'm going to TLDR this for you. It's not necessarily bullish. It's not bearish, but they just reshuffled how they're taking profits. It sounds like, oh my God, all this money's being burned and the team isn't going to use their tokens. That's got to be better for the ecosystem. It's actually equivalent mathematically. And it doesn't matter. And it doesn't. If you guys can read this if you want, I'll retweet it. I'll retweet this. Did I already do this? Let's just do it. There. You guys can read it on my Twitter now. But basically, one of the most important things I want to highlight is one of the reasons why they did this change. So the TLDR doesn't really do anything, right? It's like, okay, so instead of taking profits from here and burning, we're taking from here and burning, and then the team is taking profits from here instead. So it's just a circular shuffle of funds, right? So if that's the case, why did they do it, right? And the reason is right here. I agree with this 100%. I'm convinced that this change was made for regulatory compliance reasons, because and they also said it's not a pre-mined coin. So what they're trying to do is have BNB not be deemed a security, because if it's not a security, then when Binance America opens up, they can list BNB for trade, which they really, really want to do, right? It's a huge deal if that coin is not tradable on the US exchange because it's in regulatory limbo, or even worse, it's a security and cannot be traded. That would be absolutely horrible. So they're taking as a number one priority, doing everything they possibly can to make sure that BNB is not deemed a security by the United States SEC, right? And so they're removing all the things that flag it as a security, trying to do all these things. And if they're successful and it is not at risk for being a security, then it's going to be tradable on the US Binance exchange. And that is going to be huge. And it's super important to the long-term longevity of this coin. Because if the opposite happens and you can't trade BNB in the United States, whew, man, that's going to hurt it. Like, it's not going to send it to zero. It's still a really bullish coin, but it's going to be like, it's going to take a dent out of it for sure if that happens. Like, you know, and it's not going to be like a snap your fingers thing. It's going to be like, hey, Binance America opened up and we're still checking on the status of BNB. Don't worry, we're working with regulators. Like, that's going to be their spin. And that could go for a long time. It's like, what's the status? What's the status? Still working on it, right? Like, and then hopefully, like, it's not like, bam, it's a security, you know, like, that's just, hopefully that doesn't happen. You know, we don't know if Ripple is a security, right? Like, imagine if BNB were Ripple and Ripple was like, we're working with regulators, you know, is it a security or isn't it, right? Like, it's traded on a lot of exchanges, and Binance might just take that risk, right? They're like, you know what? We've removed as many flags as possible for this being a security, just like Ripple, just like a bunch of other coins that the United States SEC hasn't commented on yet. So screw it. We're going to allow them to trade until the United States SEC says you can't trade Ripple, you can't trade Stellar, you can't trade BNB, and hoping that doesn't happen. So that's my opinion of what is going to happen. Is they're going to get as good as possible with BNB, and then they're probably going to list it because there's no guidance from the SEC, right? I think that's going to happen, but I don't know for sure. Anyways, let's get back to it. I've got about 7 minutes left. Gonna try Doge. Ah, man, Doge. Doge is really funny. They did list on Binance, right? It's low. It's a low SAT coin, but it's super dangerous because it has zero fundamentals. And I don't like trading. Like, I trade zero fundamental coins, definitely, but I don't like doing it. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to flash trade it, not hang out in it for very long. Okay, let's look at EOS, and then Tron and Bitcoin SV. So EOS lost some ground against Binance coin. But it looks a lot like Ethereum, right? So I'm just going to go really fast. Look, the chart looks exactly the same as ETH and Ripple, right? It came down here, it tipped the bottom Bollinger, and we're hoping to get back to the middle if we can stay bullish, if these 2 days are not a fake out. Same exact story as last week, to be honest with you guys, right? Like, on Sunday, I made the same story where we were in these 2 green days, and I'm like, hey, if this is not a fake out, alts are going to be really bullish. Turned out to be a fake out. I'm going to say the same thing. If this is not a fake out, alt's going to be bullish. There's going to be a lot of upward potential to have. Let's go to the next. Let's go to SV, which isn't even BSV. You have to trade this on Bittrex or Bitfinex. Let's look at it on Bitfinex. Looks terrible. Didn't even have the 2 green days that all the other coins, all the majors have had, which could mean that it's lagging behind and there are 2 green days ahead of this. So that could be bullish. Could be like, hey, Bitcoin SV is lagging behind everything else. It's also not listed on Binance, so it doesn't have as much liquidity as all the other majors do. But it's still up there. I mean, it's still a major. It's still the ninth market cap, right? So even though you say what you will about this coin or the team or the fundamentals, there might be opportunity here. I mean, there is opportunity here, right? It's lagging behind the others, so that's really interesting to me. Still waiting for all the indicators to cross over, but it's got potential. Next is going to be Tron. Let's take a look at Tron. Let's look at Tron. Ah, look at that. So I had two scenarios. This is remember this last week? I made a prediction. I said either we're going to go up here. If this was not a fake out, we're going to go up here and we're going to test the Bollinger Band. This is a 4-hour Bollinger Band. What is this? What is this top here? It was this range, but what was the significance of that? I guess it was to just break through. Oh, the Bollinger Band was up here. Last week, the Bollinger Band was here. So I said, hey, well, if the Bollinger Band, if the price goes up, the Bollinger Band's going up with it. So it would have done that. However, the other scenario totally played out. Look at that, man. Going up here. Didn't even retest the middle, though. I thought maybe we'd retest the middle and then hit the bottom. But it totally played out. So we hit scenario B. And we don't need this one anymore. And now we're at the same spot we were last week. Right? And either we're gonna go up here and then bounce back down, or we're gonna come up here and retest and go to the top, which happens to be here right now, and it'll probably bend up a little bit if that happens, right? I just DM'd you. Gonna try Doge. The buffet, the Buffett dinner on the July 25th. Yeah. So the Buffett lunch dinner, the Buffett lunch. I say buffet. Did I actually say that? The buffet on July 25th. Yeah, the lunch with Justin Sun and Warren Buffett on the July 25th is going to be very interesting for two coins, for Tron and BTT, right? Because he is going to try to, bring Mr. Buffett up on all of the benefits of crypto. Tell him it's not just used for money laundering and drug trafficking and all that garbage stuff that's in the news. That there's actual value and utility, and here's what blockchain does. And by the way, let me tell you about a coin called Tron, bro. And he's going to talk about Tron. He's going to talk about BitTorrent. He's going to talk about those. Probably more Tron than BitTorrent, because BitTorrent was used for years for pirating software and everything. So he's probably not going to talk about BitTorrent too much, although he will mention it, I'm sure. But if you look at the upward potential, so Tron is sitting here at about 260 sats, 260 Satoshi, but BTT is sitting at 10 Satoshi, right? So I think that he's going to focus on Tron because that's his baby and he cares more about Tron. But I think that where's the lunch? Did I mark the lunch here? Why did I not mark the lunch on the 25th? Let's mark it. 21, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's mark this with a special purple color. All right, so this is the lunch. Okay? These here were BTT airdrops. This is the lunch. This is the important one. I definitely feel like if Bitcoin is not in danger of going up to 14, 16, 18K, then Tron is going to be very bullish going up to this lunch date. Because everybody's like, oh, he's going to talk to Buffett. Maybe he's going to sell him on Tron. Maybe Tron's going to be the first. Everybody, all these moon boys have their dreams that he's going to walk out and be like, I convinced him to buy Tron. And he's going to invest 10 billion of his portfolio into Tron. We're there, boys. Lambos for everybody. That's the Tron moon boy dream, okay? Not going to happen. But the dream is powerful, right? And the dream is going to drive a lot of price action. And so I would expect the price to go up if Bitcoin is stable during that time. That's a huge if. Because if Bitcoin is on its way to 20K, it doesn't matter. Tron is getting wrecked. So it's a high risk, but I like the fundamentals. So regardless of what's happening with the TA here, I like the fundamentals in these next 12 days. Okay. So, and the way I would personally play this, I'm not in Tron, But if I were planning to get, if I believe it's safe, the way that I will play this is I will buy the rumor and sell the news. So right on the day of this or before it or whatever, I would get out. I would look for your local resistance. Here it is. Here it is. Look at all these resistances. Pick one and take profits so that I'm not left bag holding. If the lunch doesn't go as everybody dreamed it will, Lambo's for everybody. If he doesn't say Lambo's for everybody, you're going to want to be out. Okay, so that's how I personally play this. The other coin that this is bullish for is BTT. So let's look at BTT. So here's BTT. I did a scalp here. I bought some at 9, and when it went up to... Wait, this is the day. So I bought some at 9 here, and I sold it at 10 here, just because I don't want to be left holding this coin. I think 9 is a nice place to accumulate this. 9 or 8, if you can get it there. Lord Buttocks! Nice, nice nickname, bro. Nice to have you. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. So let me draw the same July 25th line here, because this is super important. Come on. Oh, there we go. So this is the same line now. I definitely think now it's not going to do this because every Satoshi that this coin moves is 10%. So, you know, hey, maybe it gets to here though, which would be, can you imagine if BTT got to 14 and you just got it at 10? You'd be up like 40%. Like that would be pretty ridiculous, right? But it's also super risky because if it drops 4 sats, you're down 40%, which is like half your portfolio. And you do not want to be screwing around, in my opinion. I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm not going to be screwing around with something that could lose 40% of my portfolio before alt season hits. Can you imagine that? You bought BTT here at 10, and then it just went down, and then you ended up having to sell it at like 6. You lost half your portfolio, and then alt season hits, and you're staring there looking at your half bag of crypto, and you're just like, oh my god, I could have done so much with this. Now I can only do half. Don't let that happen. Don't let that happen, guys. Be very careful. Just, the way I'm playing this is I'm saving all, the majority of my funds for alt season, and that's where your greatest opportunity lies, right? Like, yeah, you could scalp a 5%, a 10% here or there, but if you want 50%, if you want 75%, if you want 200%, alt season is the place to get that. Why would you risk anything before that, right? Like, that's my opinion, right? That's just me. So I'm going to make sure I'm fully locked and loaded for when alt season hits. I know you're short on time, but Thor coin. Okay, I did say I would look at Thor coin, so let me just look at that real quick. THR on CoinMarketCap. What the hell? March 9th, so it was at nothing, and then it went up against Bitcoin, but the price didn't really change. I mean, it did. Looks like maybe a supply change happened. No, the market caps just kind of went up. What the hell happened here from March to let's look at where they were. So this is only on one tiny little exchange. The volume is 221K last 24 hours. So it's been trading a lot recently, but it looks like it's a pretty low volume coin. So let's look at the price of this. Let's pop this open. Crex24.com. No, okay, I don't like that. Very weird coin. Let's look at it on where is the all charts? Okay, let's look at it here. So I get a trading view of that. And it's Thor coin against BTC. Yeah, you can't really TA this. Like, what the hell happened here? It's on Coinbase, but not trading yet. How do you know it's on Coinbase? Not trading yet. Why is it not listed on Coinbase yet? Let's go back to CoinMarketCap. We'll just do a little fundamental on it. THR. Let's go to the website. says supported. Where do you see that? Let's just take a look at this. This is normally what I do when I want to do fundamental analysis on a coin. Their website is super slow. Is it running like off a hard drive in India? Like, what's going on here? Look at this, man. Not impressed at all with the speed that this website is loading a texture from the background. Security token. Bring liquidity to the best investment opportunities. Waves. Security token. Evolution of security. Where's the team? KYC. Where's the team? About us. Okay, so let me tell you guys, one of the biggest, when I go look at a coin on CoinMarketCap and I want to see how strong it is fundamentally, one of the very first things you should ask is who's the team, what's their background. Any coin that chooses to remain, now I may just not be digging deep enough, but any coin whose development team and company chooses to remain anonymous is doing so for a reason, and that reason is not a good reason, okay? It usually means it's either a scam or a garbage coin or people who do not feel comfortable revealing their identity because there's some reason to hide, okay? So it's usually a very, very bad sign if a team is not on the website, okay? Now, maybe I just haven't found it. Maybe it's under KYC. Maybe it's under about. No. So I can put in my name and address and passport number onto this website that has no team on it. Let me do that real quick. Let me put my home address and let me put my passport number here and let me put my ETH address and let me like put all these things here. Let me enter all this information to a team that's anonymous, right? Like, come on, guys. This looks like a total scam to me, okay? What is this? Let's check knock knock. Okay. So I haven't done enough research, but this looks like a complete scam. Okay. So I don't know. I'll have to do more research on it. But all signs point to complete garbage for this coin for me. So yeah, I don't trust it. I would not give this coin any. I wouldn't give this coin a second look until you can point me at the full founding team, the developers, and everything else, and go from there. Okay, so guys, I need to get going. Time is up. I think I'm just gonna actually take it easy, so I'm not really getting game or anything. But I do want to thank you guys for hanging out, and make sure and follow me on Twitter if you're not already. I'll link my Twitter here. That's where I post all my crypto stuff, and let's see, what else can I tell you guys? Just watch Bitcoin in the meantime. Watch it over the next week. Remember that the trading zone we're looking for is this white line here. These two white lines. Basically, 11K and 12K. It looks like we're about to break down through 11K. Nothing actually exciting ever happens on this stream. But maybe if I had done it for another hour, it would. But man, we're watching very, very closely to see if a 4-hour to a one-day candle will close below this zone. If it does, I think 10K is probably in play. But we'll see. We'll see. Trade safe, guys. Trade very safe. There's a lot of opportunity to be made in alts, but I'm not sure it's going to happen, guys. It could be another fake out. So be very, very careful and keep watching me on Twitter. I'll post stuff when I can. And we'll talk next Saturday for more Saturday Night Crypto. Until then, have a good night. I'll catch you guys later.